Hello everybody, welcome to this live debunking. I'm doing a little test of the sound. I believe from the volume level meter that you should be able to hear me quite clearly. And there's a lot of chatting going on, so cut it out before I disable this thing. So let's see. I'm here in Shanghai. Been very busy recently. Haven't been doing quite as much content as I had hoped to have been doing. Let's see if anybody's talking about anything interesting. Some wrong thinker here in the chat suggested that you shouldn't know Japanese and Chinese at the same time, which I think is very incorrect. I had a tutor in Beijing to learn me some Chinese, and she was also quite fluent in Japanese, and I found it to be actually very helpful because the types of questions that I ask are, yeah, but why do you say this word? And where did that come from? And what did you say before that? And before that? And how did it evolve into this? You know, getting into the etymology of words. And she was able to help in ways that I think somebody who didn't know Japanese would struggle to. So she was able to say, for example, oh, this word, it still means that in Japanese, but in Chinese we've changed it to this other thing, but it used to mean this other, you know, definition. So it can be quite helpful. Orwellian Purple Grapes 1984, I thought this was a fashion session. This is how everyone should dress. And if you don't dress like this, we're going to come to your country and force you to dress like this. I mean, other than the random cat fur, you should all have creep show shirts. Anyway, so today I want to talk about a little article that I found on BBC News yesterday. Pretty interesting little article. Did I not get that white thing? Never get any cats, okay? Let's see. Nice touch, the white cat on the starter screen. That is my boy. He slept with me all night last night, as he usually does. He's such a sweetie, and he's super fat. All right, let's get serious here, guys. It's 2:34. We're already late. It's Tuesday. You guys should all be at work or school, but instead you're listening to a fashion icon share his fashion tips. BSB News. All right. Stop distracting me, everybody. Here we go. Let me switch over to my left monitor. All right. Whoops. Sorry. Trying to mark the screen so that I know where I cannot put information that you guys need to see. As you may have noticed in my last video talking about Apple, there was a lot of my amazing artistry that you guys couldn't see because my face was in front of it. So let's take a look at this article from the BBC. It's from a day ago now. I scheduled the live stream as soon as I saw that this was released. It's a great article called Wuhan Lab Leak Theory: How Fort Detrick Became a Center for Chinese Conspiracies. So if you're wondering why they don't know how to spell center, it's because that's the British way to spell things, even though this is bbc.com, not the UK site, but we'll allow it. We will allow this because the author is a British person, clearly, which you can see because the author's name is One Day Ago. as you scroll down, you find, in fact, that's the only reference to an author. There's just nobody listed. So nobody wrote this article. Just some unknown person at the BBC. Kind of interesting. I don't really understand why they don't want you to know who wrote this, but whoever it is was apparently British or spoke, writes in British English. Wuhan Lab Leak Theory, How Fort Detrick Became a Center for Chinese Conspiracies. Very interesting title. So let's take a look. It shows us a picture of Fort Detrick, which is a wonderful little water tower that says Fort Detrick, a community of excellence. And then it says, a disinformation campaign claiming that the COVID-19 virus originated from an American military base in Maryland has gained popularity in China ahead of the release of a U.S. intelligence report on the virus origins. That's one sentence. Just one. And there's already so many problems with it that it's mind-boggling to me. So it says it's a disinformation campaign. Let's take a look at what the word disinformation means, shall we? We use Wikipedia here as a trusted source, so let's take a look. Disinformation is a subset of propaganda and, okay, so not or, and is false information that is spread deliberately to deceive. Okay? So, a false information campaign is being spread deliberately to deceive you. So we already know that this is false. Okay? And that this is being spread to deceive you. And what are they spreading? That COVID-19 originated from an American military base. Blah, 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 blah. Here's the next problem. The conspiracy theory is that it may have originated there. Not that it necessarily did. Now, I know a lot of people think that it did, but the real theory is, hey, let's take a look because it might be related. We don't know. That's why we want an investigation. Not that it is, but hey, could it be? Let's take a look. But here they just chalk that up as, no. They're saying it definitely did. So that's a straw man. And then it says, here's the next problem with this sentence. It says it's gained popularity in China ahead of the release of a U.S. intelligence report on the virus origins. So what they're saying is that, oh, now that this intelligence report is going to come out, suddenly this theory is cropping up, which is totally fake and is being pushed to mislead you, to deceive you. The problem is, this theory has been around for a long time. I mean, I made my video about this theory, a year ago or something? And at that time, people were already talking about it. I didn't just come up with this idea myself. I was looking into claims and questions that people were posting in my videos saying, what about this and what about that? So then I started to dig into it. This is not a new thing, but they're acting like, oh, this new campaign has launched because of this investigation. So at least 3 significant issues with the very first sentence. And there's a bigger one, which we'll have to prove by reading the article, which is that they're claiming that this is disinformation, and yet they will provide absolutely zero evidence that any of this stuff is false. Now, I know what you're thinking. How do you claim that something is false or prove that something's false? Isn't that impossible? No, it's not. Not in this sense, right? It's very easy to disprove things, but they won't even attempt that. They'll just tell you that it's disinformation and give you no evidence that supports that. All right. Some people are complaining about the video. I hope everything's okay. Moving on. In May, U.S. President Joe Biden, U.S. President, thanks for explaining who that is, ordered a 90-day probe into whether the COVID-19 virus came from a lab accident or emerged from human contact with an infected animal. Which, from my point of view, Fine, good. I have no problems with that. You are allowed to, investigate anything you want. Until then, the Wuhan lab leak theory had been dismissed by most scientists as a fringe conspiracy theory. Isn't it interesting how they say this? Until then, meaning once he's ordered this investigation, suddenly now it wasn't a fringe conspiracy theory because he did that. Huh? Most scientists still think it's a fringe conspiracy theory. Him asking someone to do an investigation doesn't change that. That's like if he said, hey, can we do an investigation into holograms on 9/11, hologram airplanes? And then they said, well, until then, it was considered a fringe conspiracy theory. It is a fringe conspiracy theory. Carrying on. But now, as the report is due to be released, China has gone on the offensive. In the past few weeks, Chinese sources have been amplifying a baseless claim that COVID-19 was made in the U.S. Oh my God. Whoever this mystery writer is really good at this. Now, as the report is due to be released, China has gone on the offensive. Okay. In the past few weeks... What? What are you talking about? Chinese state media, Chinese people working in the Chinese government, people that observe China, and people just interested in COVID-19 have been amplifying this claim since it first came to light that there was a biological agent or toxin leaked from Fort Detrick immediately before there were 2 unrelated cases of outbreaks of unknown diseases that cause respiratory diseases that cause pneumonia right next to Fort Detrick, right along the timeline that it may be related to COVID. That's when this all started, not a few weeks ago. So they're just pretending like this never existed, even though they've covered this before. But suddenly now it just exists. And then it says it's a baseless claim. It's so interesting how they just use these words like disinformation and baseless. So let's take a look at what baseless means. Having no basis in reason or fact. Having no basis in reason or fact. It is totally unreasonable and affactual to ask a question like, it pretty much is a known fact that Fort Detrick leaked toxins. Everyone knows that. So is it possible that it wasn't just the common cold causing pneumonia in 2 elderly homes right near Fort Detrick immediately after that happened? That seems very reasonable to me. It doesn't mean anything specific. It just means, can we take a look at that? But no, BBC says it's totally baseless. Of course, they don't, you'll see, but they never say why it's baseless. They just tell you that it is. Okay. Using everything from rap music to fake Facebook posts, experts say the propaganda efforts have been successful at convincing the domestic Chinese audience to cast skepticism on international criticism of the country's role in the COVID-19 pandemic. God, I thought that I write some long sentences. But these guys are really challenging me on that. Using everything from rap music to fake Facebook posts, experts say. Who? What experts? What are you talking about? But okay, some experts say the propaganda efforts have been successful at convincing the domestic Chinese audience. Okay, so these efforts that they're doing on Facebook are to convince the people in China who don't use Facebook. Okay, I take your word for it, experts. To cast skepticism on international criticism of the country's role in the COVID-19 pandemic. Huh? What? Why would saying, hey, can we take a look at Fort Detrick, cast skepticism on international criticism of China's role in the COVID-19 pandemic? I mean, shouldn't it be increasing the amount of interest in the investigation of Fort Detrick? I mean, I guess this would be a byproduct, but this doesn't really seem to be the main goal to me. I mean, I don't know who these experts are or why they're saying it, but okay. Experts say it has done little to legitimize China to the outside world. Isn't this bizarre? They're painting this whole thing with a foregone conclusion. They already know why China's doing everything, and they're just telling you if it's succeeded or not. But I don't know how they know this or on what evidence they're basing this. Because to me, it seems like the reason that they're saying, should we investigate Fort Detrick, is there's a possibility that it's related. And BBC here is just totally ignoring that and saying, no. The reason that they're doing it, we're going to assert, according to experts, which we won't name or link to anything that they've said. We're just asserting that the real reason that they're posting things on Twitter and Facebook is to reach people who don't use Twitter and Facebook, and we've decided that it hasn't worked. So, yeah, it's not working. They're bad. It's like, what are you talking about? When is this article going to ask any questions about Fort Detrick? Oh, here we go. What are the allegations? Most Americans may have never heard of Fort Detrick, but it is becoming a household name in China. Well, that's already a huge problem, don't you think? That most Americans have never heard of a bioweapons laboratory that had a leak of a toxin? I mean, don't you think that should be the focus of this sentence? Wow, most Americans haven't heard of this, but even Chinese people know about it. I mean, don't you think that's a little bizarre? No, of course you don't. Chinese propagandists have pushed a conspiracy suggesting that the COVID-19 coronavirus was made and leaked from the military installation in Frederick, Maryland, about 50 miles north of Washington, D.C. Okay, so this means nothing. Then here's a picture of the what they call it earlier? Community of Excellence, and that must be a community enforcement stick that nice Boy Scout is holding there. Twitter, do they mention Twitter? Yes, you're going to see it here in a second. Once the center of the U.S. biological weapons program, what do you mean once the center of it? Is that not the center anymore? No, they just don't tell us why they say that. It currently houses biomedical labs researching viruses including Ebola and smallpox and SARS-associated coronavirus. How come you didn't mention that one here? I mean, it seems rather relevant. No? Just Ebola and smallpox, huh? Okay. Its complicated history has sparked speculation in China. Not really. It's not really its complicated history, right? I mean, we know that a lot of its research was pretty horrible. We know that it came from parts of Unit 731 as well. We know a lot of disgusting pieces of its history, but I've never heard anyone say, oh, because it has this history, that's why it's somehow involved today. I mean, you don't need to stretch this logic so far. All you have to do is say, well, they say that they leaked toxins, and then literally in the exact amount of time that it would have taken for those toxins to escape nearby and start infecting people, magically infected people started showing up, which was all written off as the common cold. That's all you have to know. You don't have to care about Fort Detrick's history, and that's why I haven't brought that up specifically in a lot of these videos where I talk about Fort Detrick, because it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter where it came from. But here they try to tie it in so that they can make this conspiracy seem more and more complicated and convoluted. A rap song by the Chinese nationalist group CD Rev suggesting nefarious plots being hatched by the lab was recently endorsed by Zhao Lijian, the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman. Endorsed? Okay, I mean, is he singing backup vocals on there? I don't really know what that means, endorsed. I mean, shared? But let's just say, sure, he endorsed it, okay? Maybe he listens to it in his car, okay? And the rhythms of the song, do they mean the lyrics? Is that a British way to say lyrics? Whatever. The rhythms of the song, how many plots came out of your lab? Okay, that's a question. How many dead bodies hanging a tag? That's also a question. What are you hiding? That's also a question. Open the door to Fort Detrick. That is a request to open the door so there can be an investigation. Huh? Well, what's wrong with that? I don't understand. I feel like I could make a rap song talking about that. I mean, yeah. How many dead people do you have on your hands? It's not 0. We know that for a fact. So how many is it? Can we take a look? I mean, let's get transparent here. So the rhythms are awkward, but its sentiment speaks our mind, Mr. Zhao wrote in a tweet in August. Okay, this is so... And what is the point here? Mr. Zhao, who is known for his aggressive style of diplomacy, and for his looks, I might add. I mean, I don't know if that's officially recognized, but I mean... Let's be honest here. Mr. Zhao, who's known for his aggressive style of diplomacy, has played an important role in spreading the U.S. origin theory. Several tweets from his account last year first drew wide attention to Fort Detrick. 942 likes, just so you know. That's what they mean by wide attention here. Several tweets from his account last year drew wide attention to Fort Detrick. What's behind the closure of the biolab at Fort Detrick, he wrote in July 2020. When will the U.S. invite experts to investigate the origin of the virus in the U.S.? Sorry, but none of this is supporting what they're saying. I hope you guys are understanding this. So far, nothing that any Chinese person in this article has said supports the concept that they're pushing that this definitely started at Fort Detrick. Even here where he says, when will U.S. invite experts to investigate the origin of the virus in the U.S., he's not specifically saying the first known case ever necessarily definitely being in the U.S. He's talking about the origin of the virus in the U.S., but they're intentionally writing it in such a way where it seems like that's what he's saying, but that's not necessarily what he meant at all. In recent months, his calls have been joined by Chinese diplomats based in various countries, and the Chinese state broadcaster CCTV even aired an hour-long special report, The Dark History Behind Fort Detrick, focusing on breaches of containment at the lab in 2019 to bolster claims of lax lab security echoed by Chinese officials and state media. Well, that's not baseless, is it? I mean, there's a huge report of dozens of lab security failures at Fort Detrick that's public information. BBC, did you even bother to look at that? I mean, what does this have to do with baseless claims? A related hashtag has had more than 100 million views on Weibo, China's Twitter equivalent. Okay, this is all you've done so far is say that, yeah, Chinese people want to know what happened at Fort Detrick, and Americans have no idea what Fort Detrick is. That's all you've proven to me so far. We see a more sustained campaign involving more numerous and geographically spread accounts to promote the narrative about Fort Detrick, says Ira Hubert, a senior investigative analyst at social analytics from firm Graphica. Huh? Okay. I mean, I'm sorry, but we're halfway through this now. Is any of this news? A person saying something, you talking about a bunch of claims without ever asking if any of them are true. You just say they're all not true with zero evidence so far. Another popular theory, pushed by the nationalist tabloid The Global Times, attempts to connect the virus's origins to a U.S. coronavirus expert, Dr. Ralph Barrick, and researchers at Fort Detrick. The newspaper suggested that Dr. Barrett created a new human-infecting coronavirus, citing a paper the North Carolina-based researcher co-authored about the virus's transmission from bats in Nature Medicine. Okay. In an editor's note, the journal said it was aware the paper was being used to spread the false theory, but the note was not included in the Global Times report. The journal said it was aware it was being used to spread the false theory. I've never really heard of the term false theory before. That's a very interesting way to put things. False theory. Okay. I don't think that a theory can be ultimately considered false if you've provided zero evidence to falsify it, but okay, it's just false. The newspaper also launched an online petition calling for Chinese netizens to sign an open letter demanding a World Health Organization investigation into Fort Detrick. People could sign the letter with a single click, and the appeal reportedly gathered more than 25 million signatures. Now, I'm not sure if you guys realize this or not, but an online petition is done by clicking things. It's not done by signing a piece of paper, scanning it, and then mailing it somewhere, which they know. They're totally aware of this, but they're making it seem like, what a fraud. Everyone in China supports this theory, but all the signatures on this petition were totally fake. Those two things completely make sense together. They really think you're stupid reading this. It's very condescending. Propaganda from Switzerland to Fiji. Experts say Beijing is Experts say. Sorry, who is this again? Which experts? Imagine if science worked this way. Experts say that the theory of relativity, yada, yada, yada. Huh? Which experts? Where's their math? You know what I mean? What are you talking about, experts say? Anyway, experts say Beijing is seeking to bring non-Chinese audiences into the dispute about COVID-19 origins to further muddy the waters. Yeah, or they want an investigation. I mean, whichever one seems more likely. It's a huge global disinformation campaign with no clear objective other than diverting attention from China and muddying the waters. Or they actually mean what they're saying and they just want you to investigate. I mean, this is starting to turn into a complicated conspiracy theory. A clear example unfolded in July when Chinese state media outlets began relentlessly reporting on criticism written in a Facebook post by Wilson Edwards, a user claiming to be a Swiss scientist. Mr. Edwards argued that Washington was so obsessed with attacking China on the origin tracing issue that it is reluctant to open its eyes to the data and findings. Okay. Swiss embassy in China said there's no registry of a Swiss citizen with that name, and urged Chinese media to remove false news reports. Experts, again, there's so many experts. The BBC has access to so many experts, but you're just too stupid to hear who those people are and how they arrived at these conclusions. You just listen to the name expert and you just believe whatever they say. Experts believe Wilson Edwards likely does not exist, but is instead a fictitious propaganda profile. I don't care. That's totally irrelevant. I don't care if there are 0 other people in the world, aside from myself, that are asking the question. I mean, could we just investigate Fort Detrick a little bit? Just to make us all happy and feel like, okay, we did something? Can we just do a little bit? I don't care how many people are saying that. If it's one, maybe it should be talked about. But anyway, this fake Wilson Edwards person, apparently, yada, yada, yada. Apparently he's fake. This part's kind of boring. Let's just assume that he's fake. The Wilson Edwards story appeared to have first been reported through an obscure Fiji-based Chinese-English bilingual outlet, The Voice of South Pacific. Okay? Though it is unclear whether Voice of South Pacific is backed by the Chinese state, its mobile app is developed by a wholly owned subsidiary of state news agency China News Service, blah, 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 blah. So, Voice of South Pacific. Let's take a look at this Chinese propaganda company. Let's take a look at these damn Chinese. Log into Facebook. Oh, you know what? Let me bring my... apparently you have to log in, huh? I'm going to... bring my thing over here. You guys are going to have access to all my stuff here. What was it called? Voice of South Pacific. Voice of South Pacific. Here we go. Let's look at these damn Chinese people. TV and radio, Tonga, Seattle. Now, my Chinese isn't very good, but I've never heard that Chinese word Tonga. Have you guys heard that? I mean, what is that, Cantonese? Don't know. Let's see. An island radio station. Okay. Look at these. Clearly, these are Chinese people, right? Let's see what else they're doing. What does the Chinese government want us to know about? Polo Kalama live atu ae vitraum mo hufan gloopy kotao. Related pages. This must be all the Chinese stuff. Let's see. My Little Tongan. Huh? Humans of American Samoa. Okay. Do they have a website? What's this? Instagram? All right, let's check out their Instagram. These damn Chinese state media. Ugh. Look at these Chinese people. This is a traditional Beijing dance right here. This is Beijing opera, I believe. So stupid. It didn't. Oh, here we go. Website. Didn't they say that this is a dual language, Chinese and English? Here's their website. Wow, if those aren't Chinese people on a traditional Chinese backdrop, I don't know what is. All right, let's take a look at their dual language. I see English. That's it. I don't see any way to change it to Chinese. I don't see anything about China. I mean, nothing at all. It's an island radio station. We give platform to the voices of those who have migrated from the South Pacific Islands. Okay. That's it. I mean, this doesn't really disprove anything, but I mean, all I did is just briefly look at the thing that you're telling me is a big bad China state media thing. I mean, to me, this Voice of South Pacific appears to be a radio station and little network dedicated to giving a voice to people from the South Pacific. And there's not one Chinese word on anything. All that they're speaking in is whatever language this is, which I think is called what is the name of it again? Oh, Tongan. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, this isn't definitive proof. Maybe that is all actually Chinese people. I don't know, but it's backed by the Chinese state apparently. And I wasn't able to find a mobile app at all. I actually tried searching. Doesn't mean it's not true. I searched iTunes. I searched their website, Facebook, Instagram. I didn't see anything about a mobile app, so I don't actually even know what the hell they're talking about. Let's see what else. The BBC found that even before his Facebook post drew wide media attention, it had been shared by hundreds of Facebook accounts, which claimed to be based in Southeast Asia. They claim to be. Okay. For example, someone in Malaysia and Indonesia also circulate a long and identical list of pro-China news stories. Okay. There's no conclusive evidence of who operates these accounts. They often direct quote phrases used by China state. Okay, what is your point? I don't understand why you're going on and on about how there's fake accounts that you are theorizing are controlled by the Chinese state. What does that have to do with investigating Fort Detrick? Again, it doesn't matter if everyone in the world is fake and there's only one person asking one question and everyone else is just repeating that in a fake way. That has nothing to do with if it's a valid question or not. This is just a huge fallacy that they know the reader will have so that their attention will be diverted from the answer of the question. Graphica has said that there's a network of fake and covert pro-China account, typo with the href here, has identified a network of fake, again, irrelevant. If this was a court of law, this evidence would be thrown out, as it has nothing to do with the question. And then they've got these links to other things. How a fake network pushes pro-China propaganda. Again, they're not going to say if any of this stuff is true or not. They're just going to talk about how it's all fakely pushed. And you'll notice this one actually has an author listed for some reason. And this one, again, doesn't. Who wrote this? No one knows. It's just a mystery. All right. Where the hell am I? Here we go. What does this say about China's propaganda? China's latest global influence campaign over COVID-19 may not have made the country many new friends overseas. I don't know why would that be the goal. But analysts say it has been successful in convincing Beijing's domestic audience. Again, how? How would posting things on LinkedIn, what are they saying? Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. None of those are used in China, so on any meaningful scale. So I don't understand how posting things on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube would have such a huge, massive influence on the domestic audience, and it's just never explained. For the most part, the biggest concern of the Chinese government is domestic legitimacy. Somebody rather told the BBC. Weird how this doesn't say experts. This is an actual person's name. Huh. Does that mean this person's not an expert? What does that mean? I don't understand what your journalistic practices are here. But either way, this is another one of those statements that seems to support the article, but in fact just says nothing at all. Because the biggest concern of any government in the whole world is and should be domestic legitimacy. Because if you don't have that, you're not a government anymore. You're gone. You're out. And presumably you think you're doing the right thing for the country. So you kind of need that. Then they show some video. More Chinese diplomats have recently surged onto Twitter, which is banned in the country, but their combative messages appear to aim at a domestic audience. Again, how? How? Professor Repnikova says China has blurred the boundaries between domestic and external propaganda for years, but the strategy doesn't come without risks, as the less effective external messaging could put strain on China's foreign relations. Huh? Okay. Meanwhile, Chinese state media have cherry-picked more foreign sources, and foreign video bloggers have played an increasingly prominent role in Beijing's disinformation drive. Again, disinformation. These efforts aim at legitimizing China from the outside, according to that professor. The uptick of foreign elements in China's disinformation campaign signals a change in Beijing's propaganda strategy. It's not just about telling a story, it's about creating a story. The end. That's the end of the article. That's it. So, what have we learned from this article? Well, the virus didn't come from Fort Detrick. We haven't investigated that, but we're just telling you that it hasn't. And if you say that it has, or if you ask if it did, or if you say, hey, can we have an open door to Fort Detrick in a rap song? Or if you say, hey, can we do an investigation? Or maybe we can have an autopsy of some of these people who died around then to just make sure, double sure that it wasn't a cold that killed them. All of those things are totally baseless. They're based on no rationality, no reason, no logic, no facts. It's all just a huge conspiratorial campaign to confuse everyone, muddy the waters, and trick Chinese people who don't have access to those messages to legitimize the government, even though it's actually hurting China's image. But it's all on purpose, and the real reason is that they want legitimacy in China. That's what this article has told me. And it hasn't told me who's telling me that or who all these experts are or any evidence that any of that is the case. I mean, it is absolutely fascinating to me that at the top of this page, they have this bizarre, I guess you could call it a word. I mean, it might just be a bunch of shapes that confusingly look like letters, but it says news at the top of this page. And I really don't understand how they can legally put that on here when this entire thing is just babbling about how if you ask any questions, you are part of a big global confusing conspiracy, and no matter what we should do, we should never ask questions about Fort Detrick. It is shocking to me that this is considered news by anyone. Whew. Wow, I really went off there. Okay, this was supposed to be a 30-minute stream. This is how I read the news that I see. It's really just as simple as asking these questions. A disinformation campaign. Is that true? What does disinformation mean? Interesting. Okay, what's the evidence that this is baseless? Oh, there is none. You're just saying that. You're baselessly saying that these questions are a baseless conspiracy theory. Oh, it's so ridiculous. It's almost like, and I don't want to sound too conspiratorial here, but it does seem like they really, really don't want to ask questions and they don't want to find out the answers about Fort Detrick. That's what this article seems to be telling me as well. Well, that's all I have for you guys. Any questions, any super chats, any compliments about my hairstyle, any complaints? I shall wait for the delay to catch up. You know, sometimes I think about doing one of those Twitch streams where I sit here for 12 hours, 12 hours straight, and play video games and research and update my timeline and listen to people's comments and questions. Well, now we see it, guys. If you're watching the chat now, you can see who's the truth teller and who is the snake in the grass. L. Wilson tells the truth and says your hair is nice. And this demon called Dead Destroyer lies and says bald as always. All right, how do I ban this bastard? Can you dye your hair? Do you think it's possible to fight against all of Western disinformation campaign? For an individual, no. It's just, take it from me, it's very, very exhausting. Where's that handsome government worker? Oh. That dude is pretty schwy, gotta be honest with you. Every time I see some post by that dude, I'm like, he's got it. Hair is shiny. Open Fort Detrick. Close Fort Detrick. These are the types of opinions I really live for. I'd be here for a 12-hour stream. Thank you, Jenny. All right, guys. I'm going to take off. That's all I wanted to say. I do clip these things and release them with subtitles and everything. Chris Hall, you're such a... not racist, but you're a Eurocentric person? Eurocentrist? It's not late night, okay? It's 3 p.m. Release your old punk recordings or the hostages will be forced to listen to China Uncensored. My old punk recordings. I should do some new ones. I still have the music. I have the tracks, but I don't know. I'm a little too old to be doing punk rock these days. Oh, I was going to say I'll probably be doing more of these short live streams. I have a trip coming up. I got to go up north to take care of something. But I'll do a quick live stream tomorrow. And then I have another few subjects I can talk about. So if you guys have some subjects you would like me to talk about briefly, like 30 minutes max, email me, nathan@nathanrich.online, or you can add them as comments on my videos. But honestly, I don't read those too often. I go through them sometimes, but it may get lost. So you can email me. Please don't write a book. Just say, hey, talk about this, whatever. Don't ask me to talk about very complicated subjects, right? That take a lot of research, because those videos I need to do a lot of preparation for. Job in China, please. Congratulations from Germany. Thanks. No, it's 5 p.m. Mark Jackson, you liar. Where are you? 5 p.m. What's 2 hours ahead of here? New Zealand? No, that's... Yeah, I guess so. Australia? Is that 1 hour? All right, well, this is real exciting and everything. How was your Chinese learning? It was delayed as I moved to Shanghai, and I haven't been able to find a replacement, as well as the time to continue, unfortunately. Wish you health. Thanks. I do have a health update for you guys soon that I will share, probably after my trip. All right, I'm out of here, guys. This is dragging on, getting awkward at this point.